Most people wait for motivation to strike, as if achievement were a thunderbolt from the heavens. But the truth is simpler and far more powerful. The person who learns to act without waiting to feel ready becomes unstoppable. There comes a time in every person's life when they must decide whether they will be governed by their moods or by their goals. Most people wait until they feel like it. But the successful man or woman understands something deeper. They act first, and the feeling follows. The human mind is a remarkable instrument. It will obey any command that is given to it consistently and with conviction. But it must be directed firmly, repeatedly, and with purpose. The great secret, you see, is not in waiting for inspiration. It's in learning to move without it. The athlete doesn't wait for enthusiasm to train. The writer doesn't wait for the muse to appear. The entrepreneur doesn't wait for certainty before beginning. They force themselves into motion, and motion itself produces the spark. Here's the principle, and I suggest you write it down. Action precedes motivation, and discipline creates destiny. That one idea can change your life if you'll live by it. When you rise in the morning, your mind will whisper 1,000 small arguments for delay. Not yet. Maybe later. Tomorrow will be better. But tomorrow never comes for those who surrender to comfort. Comfort is the quiet assassin of ambition. The man who conquers comfort, who forces himself to act when his body says rest, and his mind says wait, becomes a leader among men. Now, how do we develop this kind of power? It begins with one deliberate act each day. Start with something simple. Get up when you plan to get up. Not 5 minutes later, not after debating with yourself, but precisely when you said you would. You've just practiced mastery over self. Do that again and again and again, and soon your mind begins to understand who's in charge. Each time you do what you said you would, despite resistance, you strengthen an invisible muscle called willpower. And willpower is the foundation of achievement. Every great success story, from the inventor to the leader, the artist to the builder, is the story of someone who refused to let feelings dictate their actions. They forced themselves to begin, and in that beginning discovered strength. So when you face your goal, and the road looks steep, remember this: you don't have to climb the mountain all at once. You only have to take the next deliberate step. Do it now, then another and another. Before long, you'll look back and realize you've done the impossible, simply by choosing not to quit. The world rewards those who act with decision, not those who wait for permission. The time to begin is now, not when it's easier, not when it's perfect. Now, because now is all you'll ever have. So as you listen to these words, make a promise to yourself that from this day forward you will no longer be ruled by hesitation. You will act, even when it's hard. You will move, even when you doubt. You will force yourself to live by purpose, not by mood. And someday, when you reach your goal and stand in the quiet satisfaction of achievement, you'll know that every act of self-command, every moment of discipline, was worth it. The journey to greatness begins with one command, a quiet but firm whisper to yourself: do it now. Discipline begins where comfort ends, and in that small space between desire and decision lies the making of a man. Comfort is a silent seducer. It whispers promises of ease, of rest, of tomorrow. Yet it is discipline that whispers back, with calm certainty, that greatness cannot grow in soft soil. Every person dreams of success, yet only a few are willing to endure the discomfort that molds strength and character. It is not the weight of work that breaks a man, but the hesitation to lift it. The disciplined individual understands that comfort is a passing feeling, while the fruits of effort endure far beyond the moment of strain. The road to mastery is not lined with convenience, it is carved by persistence. When you discipline yourself to do what must be done, when it must be done whether you feel like it or not, you begin to rise above the common level of existence. You discover that discomfort is not an enemy but a teacher. It stretches the limits of your endurance, tests the clarity of your vision, and sharpens your will. Those who seek only comfort never discover who they might have been, for they stop at the first sign of difficulty. But those who move beyond comfort learn that pain is temporary, and the strength it leaves behind is permanent. Discipline is the quiet decision repeated daily. It is the alarm clock answered without complaint, the task completed without applause, the temptation resisted without audience. It is the unseen battle fought within the walls of the mind, where the easy choice and the right choice stand face to face. One leads to stagnation, the other to growth. The man of discipline chooses growth again and again until it becomes his nature. He no longer seeks to avoid challenge, he seeks to master it. The great secret of progress lies in this willingness to leave behind the familiar. Every comfort zone is a boundary drawn by fear and reinforced by habit. To expand your life, you must first expand your courage. The disciplined mind does not ask for easier circumstances, it demands greater control over itself. It understands that every act of discipline is an investment, each one compounding silently into a future of self-respect and achievement. The rewards are not immediate, but they are inevitable. When a person forces themselves beyond comfort, something remarkable happens. They awaken to the realization that they are stronger than they believed, more capable than they imagined. Each act of discipline becomes proof that they command their own destiny. And soon what once felt difficult becomes natural, even necessary. The body may resist, but the spirit rejoices, for it knows it is moving closer to purpose. Comfort breeds mediocrity, but discipline births greatness. The difference between who you are and who you could be is found in the willingness to cross that invisible line where comfort ends and character begins. Success is rarely convenient, but always earned. It seldom arrives when it's easy, comfortable, or perfectly timed. It comes instead to those who keep going when others stop, to those who choose effort over excuses, and to those who see inconvenience not as a barrier but as the very path toward mastery. The world may seem to reward luck or talent, but if you look closely, you'll see the same unshakable truth behind every triumph. Someone somewhere paid the price in effort, persistence, and patience. The man who waits for ideal conditions never accomplishes much, for conditions are rarely ideal. The weather will not always cooperate, the timing will not always be perfect, and circumstances will never fully align. Yet success does not depend on perfect moments, it depends on the courage to act despite imperfection. The person who wins in life learns to move forward in the rain, through fatigue, through doubt. They understand that progress does not require convenience, only commitment. There is a strange and wonderful law of life: the more difficult the task, the greater the reward. Those who push through inconvenience grow stronger with every challenge. The act of enduring difficulty shapes their character and clarifies their vision. When the path becomes hard, they remind themselves that nothing truly valuable has ever been achieved easily. Gold must be mined, mountains must be climbed, and dreams must be fought for. Each inconvenience is simply the price one pays for becoming worthy of success. Convenience is the companion of mediocrity. It whispers, "Take it easy," while discipline replies, "Take the next step." The great builder, the writer, the inventor, none of them waited until they felt comfortable. They worked through the nights, faced rejection, and persisted in obscurity. They were willing to endure what most avoid, and it was precisely that endurance that separated them from the rest. For success in its purest form is the reward for those who are willing to do what is necessary, not what is convenient. Every achievement, great or small, demands its own toll of effort. The farmer rises before dawn. The athlete trains long after the crowd has gone home. The thinker wrestles with ideas long after others have given up. Inconvenience becomes their teacher, shaping within them the virtues of patience, resilience, and self-mastery. They learn that true satisfaction lies not in ease but in earning, because when you earn something, truly earn it, no one can take it from you. Success, then, is not a stroke of fortune but a declaration of persistence. It favors the man who acts when tired, who keeps building when no one watches, who does not wait for the path to clear but walks through the obstacles anyway. In the quiet hours of struggle, he proves his worth, and when the world finally sees his success, they call it talent or destiny, not realizing that it was built day by day. On 1,000 moments of inconvenience willingly embraced, your mind obeys direction. Give it one. The mind is the most obedient servant known to man, yet it must be told what to do. It cannot operate in a vacuum, for it seeks purpose the way a compass seeks north. When given no direction, it drifts toward confusion, worry, and doubt. But when given a definite goal, a clear command, it begins to gather ideas, summon energy, and attract the means to accomplish that end. The mind does not question the order. It simply sets to work, quietly, efficiently, and with remarkable precision. The tragedy is that most people never issue that command. They wake up each day waiting to see what happens, instead of deciding what will happen. They hand over the reins of thought to circumstance, and in doing so, they become passengers in their own lives. The mind, untended and unguided, becomes like a garden left to weeds. It will still grow, but what it grows will choke out what could have been beautiful. Direction turns chaos into creation, potential into progress, dreams into form. The first step toward mastery is to choose your destination. Decide what you truly want, not vaguely, not someday, but precisely and now. Write it down. Picture it clearly. Speak it aloud. The moment you do, you have given your mind its marching orders. From that instant, your thoughts begin to reorganize themselves. The people you meet, the opportunities that appear, even the challenges that arise will start to align with that dominant aim. This is not magic, it is the natural law of focus. what the mind consistently dwells upon, it moves toward. The mind is like a powerful ship, and you are its captain. Without direction, it drifts aimlessly, carried by every tide of distraction. But with a clear destination, even the strongest storms cannot push it off course for long. Each thought becomes a stroke of the oar, each habit a gust of wind in your sails. Your responsibility is not to control the sea, but to steer the ship. Once you've set the direction, your mind begins to obey, charting a course through every obstacle. Many wonder why their lives feel uncertain or unfulfilled. It is because they have never told their minds what they expect. The subconscious waits for instruction. If you say, "I can't," it will prove you right. If you say, "I will," it will work tirelessly to make it so. It is impartial, obedient, and exacting. Whatever you plant within it, it nourishes and grows. The wise use this power with intention, the careless squander it without realizing. So choose your thoughts as carefully as you would choose the company you keep. Direct your mind toward a goal worthy of your life. Then hold that picture steady, morning, noon, and night. In time, you'll find that your outer world begins to resemble the image you built within, for the mind always obeys the one who knows where he is going. Force yourself to begin, and momentum will follow. The first step is always the hardest, not because the task is impossible, but because inertia holds us still. The human mind resists motion more fiercely than it resists failure. It invents excuses, distractions, and fears that vanish the moment action begins. Every dream postponed begins with hesitation, and every victory begins with a decision to move despite it. The difference between the successful and the unsuccessful is not intelligence or opportunity. It is the simple ability to begin before they feel ready. There is a mysterious power in beginnings. Once you start, the weight you feared begins to lift, and the path that seemed uncertain starts to clear. Action organizes thought, movement sharpens vision. The very act of doing transforms confusion into clarity. Those who wait for perfect timing never realize that it is motion itself that creates timing. Momentum is not something that arrives, it is something that is built stroke by stroke, effort by effort, through the courage to begin. The man who forces himself to start discovers that effort breeds energy. Each small act of progress fuels the next. The first page leads to the second, the first brick to the wall, the first day of discipline to the habit that endures. Momentum is a silent ally, invisible at first, but once awakened, it carries you farther than you imagined you could go. It gathers strength as it moves, and in time, it becomes self-sustaining. The mountain that once seemed impossible to climb begins to shrink beneath the steady rhythm of your steps. But it all begins with that moment of decision, the instant when you refuse to wait any longer. You will never feel entirely prepared, never have every detail in place, never find the conditions perfectly suited to your plans. Begin anyway. Begin awkwardly if you must, but begin. The man who forces himself into motion, who acts in the face of doubt, soon finds that doubt loses its power. Action builds confidence while hesitation breeds fear. The mind learns through doing. It cannot be trained in theory alone. Think of a train standing still on its tracks. Tremendous energy is required to move it the first few feet, but once it's in motion, it glides forward with grace and power. So it is with human effort. The beginning demands more of you than the continuation. That is why few people succeed. Not because they cannot, but because they never truly start. Once momentum takes hold, the burden becomes lighter, and progress becomes natural. You no longer need to push yourself with the same force. The energy you've created begins to carry you. Every small act of self-command strengthens character. Character is not something we are born with. It is something we build quietly and deliberately through the choices we make each day. Every time we resist the easy road in favor of the right one, every time we do what we said we would do, even when it's inconvenient, we are laying another stone in the foundation of our character. It is not the grand gestures or the dramatic sacrifices that shape who we become, but the countless small victories over impulse, laziness, and fear. The man who learns to govern himself earns a power that no one can take from him. Self-command is the invisible strength behind every achievement. It is the ability to say yes, to purpose and no, to distraction. Each moment of self-control builds an inner reservoir of confidence, and with it peace. A person who commands himself is free because he is no longer ruled by passing moods or shifting circumstances. He does not wait for motivation to strike or for conditions to be perfect. He acts from principle, not preference. Such a person becomes steady in a world that wavers and reliable in a world that hesitates. Think of the soldier who stands firm despite exhaustion, the artist who continues to create through rejection, or the student who studies long after enthusiasm fades. Each act of self-command appears small from the outside, but within it lies the secret of greatness. The effort may go unseen, but the reward is inward. The quiet dignity of knowing you are in control of yourself. The habit of mastery over small things creates the capacity to master great ones. A man who cannot keep a promise to himself cannot be trusted with greater responsibilities, but one who does what must be done, no matter how minor, trains his mind and spirit to do so on a larger scale. Life will always test our discipline in subtle ways. The temptation to delay, to indulge, to give in to the comfort of the moment will never disappear. Yet each time we choose strength over softness, resolve over reaction, we forge a deeper sense of integrity. The act may seem trivial, rising on time, keeping an appointment, finishing a task, holding one's tongue. But these are the bricks of character. They form the unseen architecture of success and self-respect. Character, once formed, becomes a light that guides us through confusion and change. It gives direction when emotion pulls us astray and courage when fear would hold us still. Every small act of self-command is a declaration of who we are and who we are becoming. Through these daily choices, we shape a mind that obeys, a heart that endures, and a will that does not yield. In the quiet discipline of the ordinary moment, greatness begins its slow, steady work. The pain of effort is temporary, the pride of achievement endures. Every worthwhile pursuit carries a cost, and that cost is effort, the willingness to push through fatigue, resistance, and doubt. It is a universal truth that the road to excellence is seldom smooth. The body tires, the mind protests, and comfort calls for surrender. Yet the man who persists discovers that pain, though sharp in the moment, fades quickly, while the satisfaction of accomplishment remains like a quiet flame that never goes out. The temporary discomfort of striving is the price we pay for the permanent joy of becoming more than we were. Most people turn back at the first sign of struggle, mistaking difficulty for defeat. They seek an easier way, only to find that avoidance is far more painful in the long run. The person who endures effort learns a different truth, that the pain of effort is not an enemy, but a signal of growth. Muscles ache because they are being strengthened. The mind strains because it is expanding. Every drop of sweat, every late hour, every small sacrifice contributes to a deeper sense of fulfillment that comfort can never provide. Think of the craftsman perfecting his art, the student mastering his subject, the athlete pushing beyond his limit. In the midst of their labor, fatigue may whisper that it isn't worth it. But once the goal is reached, the memory of struggle becomes a badge of honor. The same hands that once trembled with exhaustion now hold the evidence of victory. The pain is forgotten, but the pride remains, not boastful pride, but the quiet knowledge that you earned what you have. Effort gives life its meaning. Without it, achievement would carry no weight, no substance. The man who is given success cannot appreciate it as deeply as the one who worked for it. The joy of attainment is multiplied by the memory of the struggle. It is the contrast between the challenge and the triumph that gives achievement its sweetness. Pain, therefore, is not a punishment. It is the refining process through which value is created. When you are in the midst of effort, remember that time is your ally. What feels heavy today becomes lighter tomorrow. The fatigue that seems unbearable soon gives way to strength. The mind adapts. The spirit grows resilient, and what was once impossible becomes natural. The momentary pain fades, but the pride of having endured, of having given your best, will accompany you for the rest of your days. The man who embraces effort finds freedom in it. He no longer runs from challenge, but moves toward it, knowing it is the path to self-respect. For in every act of perseverance, in every instance where you choose to keep going despite the strain, you prove something powerful to yourself, that you are stronger than the obstacle, greater than the discomfort, and capable of achieving far more than you once believed. Goals don't lift themselves. They demand to be carried. Every ambition, no matter how noble or inspired, remains lifeless until a human being decides to bear its weight. The world is filled with dreams waiting to be moved, with plans drawn but never acted upon, and with intentions so grand they could have changed lives. If only someone had chosen to carry them forward. A goal has no strength of its own. It relies entirely on the determination of the one who created it. It will not rise to meet you. You must rise to meet it. It is easy to write a goal, to imagine success, to feel the excitement of possibility. But the real test begins when the glow of enthusiasm fades, and only the hard, unglamorous work remains. That is when most people set their goals down and walk away. They forget that progress requires effort, consistent, sometimes grueling effort, to transform thought into reality. The man who understands this principle does not wait for motivation or luck. He bends his back, steadies his hands, and begins to carry his goal inch by inch, day after day, knowing that each deliberate movement brings him closer to the finish. Carrying a goal demands patience, because achievement is rarely immediate. It requires resilience because obstacles are certain. It requires faith because the result often hides behind discouragement. And yet, each burden lifted, each struggle endured, each task completed strengthens the one who carries it. The goal changes as you work toward it, but more importantly, you change in the process. You grow in endurance, in discipline, and in courage. The act of carrying the goal becomes the act of building character. There is no effortless success, no self-moving dream. The great architect, the builder, the explorer, all carried their goals through storms of doubt and fatigue. They did not complain that the journey was hard. They understood that it was supposed to be. Effort is the proof of desire. If you truly want something, you will carry it despite the weight, despite the distance, despite the resistance. The burden you bear for your dream is what gives it value. Goals do not fulfill themselves because they were never meant to. They exist to draw strength out of you, to call forth your persistence, your ingenuity, your will. Each morning they wait in silence, asking only one question: will you carry me today? And the answer, spoken through action, determines your destiny. Every step you take under that weight makes the next one easier. What begins as strain becomes rhythm, and what once felt impossible becomes natural. Those who carry their goals long enough eventually find that the weight has transformed into wings. What once burdened them begins to lift them higher, because effort has turned into mastery, and persistence has turned into power. But it all begins with the decision to shoulder the load and move forward, knowing that no goal ever moves on its own. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary is persistence under resistance. It is not brilliance, nor luck, nor even opportunity that separates the two. It is the quiet, stubborn refusal to stop when things become difficult. Every man encounters resistance on the road to his goal. It appears in many forms: fatigue, doubt, criticism, delay, and failure. Most turn back when they meet it. But the few who press on, who endure when every part of them longs to quit, become the ones we later call remarkable. They are not different by birth or privilege, but by perseverance. Resistance is the testing ground of greatness. It is the weight that strengthens the spirit, the fire that purifies purpose. Without it, no skill would be sharpened, no courage would be proven, and no achievement would hold meaning. The man who seeks an easy road deprives himself of the very thing that could elevate him. It is resistance that makes persistence necessary, and persistence that makes success inevitable. The stronger the wind, the deeper the roots must grow. So it is with human character. Ordinary men do what is comfortable. They work when inspired, try when convenient, and stop when challenged. Extraordinary men persist when enthusiasm fades. They push forward when results are slow, when no one is watching, when no one believes. They have learned that progress is not always visible, that growth often hides beneath struggle, and that every difficulty carries the seed of advancement. Persistence under resistance builds a power that cannot be taken away. The power to continue. The world often admires talent, but talent without endurance is fragile. It burns bright for a moment and then disappears. Persistence, however, endures through darkness. It outlasts failure, overcomes fear, and transforms effort into excellence. Every great discovery, every work of art, every success story is built upon countless unseen moments of persistence. Behind every triumph lies a history of resistance faced and conquered, of doors closed and knocked upon again until one opened. Resistance is not a sign that you are failing. It is proof that you are moving. The path to mastery is not smooth by design. It is meant to separate those who wish from those who will. Each time you persist, you rise a little higher, while others, discouraged, fall away. Over time, persistence becomes habit, and habit becomes destiny. The man who persists cannot be defeated because he refuses to stay down long enough to lose. Extraordinary people are not born, they are forged. They are shaped by obstacles that would have stopped the ordinary. They face the same storms but choose to sail through them. Their persistence turns resistance into progress, and progress into greatness. It is a law as old as time itself. The one who keeps going when others have stopped inevitably goes farther than anyone else. You become powerful the moment you stop negotiating with excuses. The mind, when left undirected, becomes a master at rationalization. It will explain away every missed opportunity, every broken promise, every goal abandoned. It will say, "I'm too tired," or "the timing isn't right," or "maybe tomorrow." These words sound harmless, but they rob a person of their potential. Excuses are subtle thieves. They steal progress quietly, moment by moment, until you wake up and realize that years have passed, and the life you wanted was bartered away for comfort. The truth is simple: you can have excuses or you can have results, but never both. The moment you stop negotiating with excuses, you reclaim your power. You stop allowing circumstances to dictate your direction. You stop treating discipline like a punishment and start treating it like freedom. For discipline is freedom, freedom from regret, from delay, from the endless cycle of starting and stopping. Every excuse weakens resolve, every act of self-command strengthens it. When you decide that you will no longer reason with weakness, something extraordinary happens. Your energy, your focus, your confidence begin to multiply. You are no longer at the mercy of feelings or moods, you become guided by purpose. Excuses are born from fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of effort. They disguise themselves as logic, offering comfort in the language of reason. But beneath that disguise lies surrender. The successful man recognizes this deception and refuses to engage with it. He knows that every time he argues with an excuse, he gives it power. So he does not argue, he acts. He trains his mind to move forward without debate. The question is no longer, can I, but will I? And the answer is always yes. Power, in its truest form, is self-mastery. It is the ability to direct one's actions regardless of obstacles or emotions. The man who has conquered himself is no longer distracted by justifications or delays. He understands that every excuse is a brick in the wall that separates him from his goal. Each time he tears one down, his path becomes clearer. The work that once felt heavy becomes lighter because his will no longer fights against itself. He moves with certainty because his decisions are final. The difference between the powerless and the powerful is not circumstance but choice. One chooses to explain, the other chooses to execute. The powerless man waits for ideal conditions, the powerful man creates them. He understands that time is precious and that excuses are its greatest enemy. By eliminating them, he frees himself to act fully, to live intentionally, and to achieve abundantly. You become powerful the moment you stop allowing excuses to speak for you. The day you silence them, you awaken a force within that has been waiting to lead. And from that moment forward, your life begins to move with direction, conviction, and unstoppable momentum. The secret of greatness lies in the ability to make yourself do what must be done, whether you feel like it or not. Every person at some point stands at the crossroads between desire and discipline, between what is easy and what is necessary. The difference between those who rise and those who remain where they are is found in that moment of decision. Feelings are fleeting, they shift with the weather, with circumstance, with comfort. But duty, purpose, and commitment, these are steady, immovable forces. The man who learns to act according to what must be done rather than what he feels like doing holds the key to mastery. There is no success story without self-command. The greatest minds, the most accomplished hands, the leaders, builders, and thinkers of history did not wait for inspiration. They created it through action. They understood that waiting for motivation is the language of the mediocre. They worked when tired, studied when uninterested, persisted when discouraged. They learned that doing what must be done, regardless of emotion, is the highest form of power. Because emotion is temporary, but achievement endures. The man who depends on mood will never see beyond the moment. The man who depends on discipline will shape the moment to serve him. Every great endeavor begins with resistance. The body resists the early morning, the mind resists the difficult task, the heart resists the long road ahead. But each time you overcome that resistance, you build strength, not just in action, but in identity. You become the kind of person who follows through. And once that belief takes root, there is little in the world that can stop you. The act of doing what must be done, especially when it's difficult, hardens the will and softens the fear. It is the daily practice of champions repeated in silence, unseen by the world, but felt in every result they produce. Most people wait to feel ready. They want the spark before the fire, the confidence before the commitment. But readiness is born of movement, not stillness. You do not feel ready because you have not yet begun. The moment you start, the energy appears, and the longer you persist, the stronger it becomes. The simple act of beginning, even without desire, creates momentum, and momentum has a power all its own. The man who can make himself act when he least wants to holds a rare advantage. He is consistent where others are conditional. He is faithful to his purpose when others are faithful only to their comfort. He knows that progress is not the reward for feeling good. It is the reward for doing good. To make yourself do what must be done. That is the quiet, unglamorous discipline behind every great achievement, the invisible bridge between intention and success, between mediocrity and greatness. Greatness has never been the gift of chance. It has always been the result of deliberate effort, conscious choice, and unwavering discipline. The path to success is not paved with comfort or convenience, but with the determination to move forward when it would be easier to stand still. Every act of persistence, every moment of self-command, every decision to begin when doubt whispers not yet. These are the invisible bricks upon which achievement is built. The individual who learns to govern his mind, to silence excuses, and to act in spite of resistance becomes the architect of his own destiny. He understands that goals do not lift themselves, they must be carried. That momentum follows action. That pain fades, but pride endures. He knows that discipline begins where comfort ends, and that each effort strengthens the spirit that drives him. When a man forces himself to do what must be done, he awakens a power that no obstacle can extinguish. He discovers that success is not a single moment of triumph, but a continual process of mastery, of overcoming weakness, one choice at a time. The extraordinary are not born different, they become different by doing what others will not. So let this truth settle deep within your mind. Your life will rise to meet the level of your discipline. Begin now, refuse delay, persist under resistance, carry your goals with conviction, and remember always, the secret of greatness lies in the strength to act not once but every single day, whether you feel like it or not.